Okay, welcome back everyone. So will be the last video in this series of getting R on our desktops. And in this video, we'll look at getting stuff off the server into our RStudio on our desktop, and we'll look at a couple of extra things like installing packages and making sure that those install correctly. So to start, I'm going to get to the RStudio server. And so the easiest way that I get to it is just by going to a Sakai site. So start by doing that. And so you should be able to log in just like you've been logging in all this time. So yeah. Okay, so you probably have some folder. Let me move myself. Some folder down here that you've been using that maybe you want the contents now on your desktop instead of on the server, which you will no longer have access to once you graduate from SLU. So I'm just going to pick one of these folders. For me, it could be any one. I'm just going to pick the data science one from fall of 2021. And so if you click that and click the little gear icon and click export, it might take a little, like a minute or so, depending on how big it is. But mine already downloaded, so that's all good. It'll export as a zip file. And so what you'll want to do is we're going to see the real advantages of working with our projects now. And so you'll want to navigate to wherever that downloaded. So in my case, it went to my downloads folder. So I'm going to unzip that just by double clicking it. And then I'm going to drag that stat234 folder. I'm just going to put it on my desktop just because it's easy to see, but you could put it wherever you want really. And so if you open that, again, depending on the thing that you opened, it would look different, but the huge advantage of using these R projects that we've been using is that you could just double click that R project. It will open a new window of RStudio. And you should see all of the files in that R project. You should even see your environment has been restored because that is saved in the R project as well. So if you have data sets that you've read in that you never cleared, all of that stuff should still be there. And all of your markdown files should still run because in a project we haven't been using absolute directories to reference files. We've been referencing them based on the starting point of the project. And so the starting point is now the same, so everything should just still run. The only thing that we'll have to do to make sure that everything actually runs is I'm just going to click one of these files, and we'll have to reinstall all of the R packages that we've been using on the server. So on the server, these packages have already been installed for us, and we've just had to call them with library. But on our desktop, we'll have to install them all ourselves. The analogy that we talk about in class for this is like a light bulb. And so installing a package is like screwing in the light bulb into the socket. And so that only has to happen a single time. And then using library to load the package is like turning on the light bulb switch. And so that happens every time that you want to actually use the light, or every time that you want to actually use the package. So RStudio will be nice generally and say, hey, you're using these packages, but they're not installed, so you should install them. And you could click this install button, but just so we see how you would do it just with code, is with this install.packages function. And so I'm going to install the biggest one, which is the Tidyverse package. Oops. And you should see it installing in my bottom left window. So the reason I picked this one is that it's the biggest package. So remember, the Tidyverse is like a package of like 8 packages because it's dplyr, ggplot2, tidyr, perr, forcats, and then the 3 other ones, tibble, whatever the other 2 are. So it's the largest one, and it's the one that if there's problems, it would tend to happen here, just because it's so big. And so we'll see if I encounter anything. I did not, but if you got a message partway through that said something like, do you want to install the package from a binary source or something like that? It's some question that you're supposed to say yes or no to. You definitely want to type in a no into that bottom left window where that message appears. The text won't show up, but if you just type in NO and then click enter, it'll register your response, and that tells R that you do not want to compile packages using something on your computer. It's likely that you don't actually have any sort of software compiler, so no is the only answer that will get these packages installed. We also then want to make sure that it actually loaded. So again, in my bottom left window, I'm just going to type in library tidyverse. Make sure that it actually doesn't give you an error here so that it installs correctly, which mine did. Since this is only something that you have to do one time, I'm going to then delete this line because I no longer want it to be run ever again. Like, I don't want it to reinstall every time I knit this file, so I'm going to delete that. And you could install these other packages too. So if you try to knit without installing knitr, it'll prompt you to install that. So I'll go ahead and do that. So it says rendering our Markdown documents requires an updated version of the Markdown package. Do you want to install this now? Yes. And it'll take you through that installation process. So mine still gets this error because I never installed the ggRepel package. So I'll install that just so that it could knit. While it's doing that, so I guess it's done. So I'll knit this file, and then while it's doing that, I'll mention the last major difference between using RStudio on your desktop and using it on the server. And there we go. And that's just that there's no longer an upload button to upload like data sets or our Markdown files. And so we're not on a server anymore, so it kind of makes sense that that upload button has disappeared. So if you wanted a file to appear in this window here, you just have to drag and drop it like you would move any file on your computer. So I guess, for example, maybe I want the video file I just made for RStudio installation. Maybe I want that to be in this R project. You just have to drag and drop it or copy paste it or use command line or whatever you do to move files around on your computer. And that then makes it appear down here. So you would do that probably not with a video, of course, but with a data set that you want to move and put into your data folder. Again, you just go to your project, find that data folder, navigate to it, and then drag and drop or save as to this folder or whatever method you're most comfortable with. Okay, so that is about it for installing R in RStudio on our desktops. It's a fairly painless process usually, as long as there's nothing weird going on. And we'll use RStudio on our desktops throughout the semester. So we will not go back to the server for for a couple of reasons that we will discuss later. Okay, thanks, and have a good morning, afternoon, evening, or night.